Hey, I'm Caroline Gaskin, and I set this group up in 2019, so before COVID, which is quite something to think back that far, isn't it? And I, it's incredible really what happened in between. But one of the biggest things is online education, and we're really only just getting started. It might feel like there's any amount of courses and workshops, but it's what people want, it's what people are looking for. And it's easy to access and you can watch it in your own time, so there's a lot. So if you're watching this on catch up, then press hashtag replay, because that really helps keep it live. And today I wanted to talk about homeopathy because I'd answered usually try and answer and comment in most posts in the group. And I'd answered somebody saying homeopathy would help with a particular condition. And she said, "What's that?" And I thought, oh, time to come on and talk about it. So I'm Caroline Gaskin. I have been in practice as a homeopath for over 25 years. And it's something I do full time. I don't just see one client a month. I see several clients a week and have done for 25 years. So my experience in homeopathy is huge. And homeopathy is a fantastic natural medicine approach. And I find that we need to add in other stuff too. So we need to add in lifestyle and dietary changes along the way in terms of our health journey, our natural health journey. And um, I would say that of most therapies. So any therapy that you are choosing, you're going to be using a few different things to achieve optimum health at menopause. And it could be, by that I mean you're going to a yoga class, you're taking some essential fatty acids, you're considering a menopause supplement, you might be looking at other actual therapies. You might have some joint aches and pains and see a cranial osteopath, for instance. So most of us have got an integrated health approach to menopause if we're going to do it naturally. And I would say that, homeopathy is amazing. We can use it as a solution for detox. We can use it to support certain conditions. We can use it to help us make lifestyle changes. There's so much really that it has to offer, but what is it? So it's a complementary therapy. It's an alternative therapy. So it might be complementary to something else that you're doing, i.e. you add it in, or you might be using it as an alternative. And for me, I started using homeopathy when my kids were little, so it's nearly 40 years ago. I was pregnant with my son, and in labour, somebody came in and gave me a homeopathic remedy to help with the last stages of labour. And then when he was young, he had a cough, and I didn't want to give him mainstream medicine with a sedative in it. That's what I was being offered by the GP. So somebody, and I wish I could remember who, I always say this, I wish I could remember who, said, "Why don't you go to Clissold Park Natural Health Centre and go to their drop-in clinic and see a homeopath?" And she gave us a remedy to sort out his cough. And what fascinated me when I went to see her is that she didn't just prescribe for his cough as the GP would have done. She was prescribing for him, how he was as a baby, what he was like in the world, whether he was warm temperatured, whether he was chilly, whether he was at ease in company or a little bit edgy, and a little bit wary. She was asking whether, what his birth process was like. So she wanted to know about the whole person as well as his cough in order to be able to prescribe. And that was interesting to me. It was a very different approach to the GP or the medics. And she also gave me a remedy that was very simple to take for him. So the great thing about homeopathy is it's extremely portable. So I've brought in here what we call a tissue salt remedy, and I'll explain a bit more about those in a minute. And you can see that, it doesn't take up a lot of space, does it? Well, in order to make this, it doesn't take up a lot of resources either. So unlike the petrochemical industry, which is what HRT comes out of, and any other medication you're taking, everything from Calpol that we give to our babies, to ibuprofen, to headaches, to chemotherapy drugs, it's a huge industry that generates, millions and millions and millions of pounds, but it also uses a huge amount of resources, which is definitely not being talked about when it comes to economics, when it comes to environmental concerns either. So with something like homeopathy, you know, you're using a very, very small amount of materials for a maximum impact. You're also taking a very small dose of a remedy. So to me, this is the original microdose. You know, we could say it's nano. And so this little bottle has got probably around 200 pilules in it. That's 200 doses of this particular remedy, and it might last me 2 months if I was to take it every day, say 3 times a day for 2 months. Might even last as much as 3 months. So, you know, what might we use remedies for? So the first thing to say is that homeopathy is natural. It's very portable. It's very low cost. It's very low environmental impact. And for me, that ticks a lot of boxes. And the kind of things that we are trained in as homeopaths is general practice, and we might specialize in something like menopause. We might niche, if you like, at some point in our career, or for the whole of our career, or that might change throughout our career. So I really got into prescribing for menopause more intensively about 10 years ago, because I saw that women were suffering far more with menopause symptoms than I was ever taught. And I realized that I was barely taught about menopause. I was taught about female hormonal health, but I wasn't taught specifically about menopause. So I started to do workshops in balancing your hormones for the pre-menopause time. I did some detox workshops. I called them Detox Your Life. And I did Managing Menopause Naturally. And that obviously grew into the title of this group. So I mentioned tissue salts. Tissue salts are what we call very low strength homeopathic remedies. And these are, we take an original substance and we dilute it many times in order to achieve a homeopathic remedy. And that can be quite a hard concept to get hold of in your mind, that could be curative. But sometimes a very small amount of a homeopathic remedy will have a big impact. And so sometimes we start with a very low strength of remedy in order to have a gentle impact, and for that to take place over a long period of time for somebody. So I've picked up a remedy called Magfos. Now, this is a remedy that I might consider offering to somebody if they suffered from headaches, from menstrual cramps. And in that situation, I would suggest perhaps that you take 1 pilule every hour because you're suffering intense pain. If you were looking at a remedy like this one, now there's another one I'm going to get out called Calc-Phos. So this is a tissue salt. And I'll put names and links to these down below, because if you think, oh, well, I'd like to try that for period pain, it's very easy to get hold of. It's very safe to take homeopathy in a situation like that. And very easy, you know, it's easy to get hold of, as I said. So this one is called Calc-Phos. Now, I might prescribe this to help with strengthening bones. And in that situation, I would say to take 2 or 3 or even 4 a day for a longer period of time. So your cramps, your headaches lasting for a short period of time, you're going to take something like this Magfos once an hour while you've got the headache. If you've got something chronic, longer term, you've got bones that are osteopenic, you might be looking at adding something like this into your regimen of things that you're doing. So for an osteopenic condition, that is thinning bones, they're not osteoporosis, osteoporotic. They're beginning to thin. They're beginning to show signs of change. A remedy like this would be great alongside using magnesium. So magnesium as a supplement, taking this as a daily remedy, and perhaps taking a superfood like blue-green algae, and building in an exercise routine that includes some kind of load-bearing exercise. That would be a great protocol to begin to strengthen your bones. And so those are tissue salts. They're low strength. We could use them in an acute situation, or we could use them in a chronic situation longer term. These, and they are what we call pilules. They're little tiny tablets. They might be soft, they might be harder, more like a traditional medical tablet, or we might have remedies in a drop form. Now, this is what we call a combination remedy from a specific company. And there are many companies that produce combination remedies. And this one is called Endopath, and it's by a company called Energetics, and it's for balancing female hormonal system. So this has got lots of different remedies in. And it's not like herbs. Homeopathy is not like herbs, where you've got a material substance. It's not like mainstream medication where you've got a material substance, or a superfood that's got a material substance that, if it's given in the wrong dosage, might have a detrimental effect. With homeopathy, you're looking at more of an energetic or vibrational medicine. So the body receives it in a very different way, and it's more informational to the body. It's like it instructs the body to work in the healing direction. And this one has got lots of remedies combined in it to create a balancing formula for female hormones. So this is the sort of thing that I might take throughout a period of time in menopause. And in a similar way, I could go to certain flower essences, and we'll talk about a little bit more about those in a bit, because they're different to homeopathy. When you go to see a homeopath, chances are you'll be given something that is deep acting, perhaps long lasting in your system. And again, like I talked about with my son, fits the whole picture of what's going on for you. So I've bought in a remedy called sepia. Now, sepia is a remedy which we give for hormonal change. It's also a remedy for ailments or illness since using synthetic hormones. So most women in my practice, I will ask if they've been on the birth control pill and how it was for them, if they liked it or not. And when a woman says, no, I didn't really like it very much, I'll say, well, what happened? And she might say, it just gave me really bleak moods and I gained weight. And I might be thinking about this as a remedy to help antidote the effects of that synthetic hormone in her system, because sepia is a great remedy for ailments from synthetic hormones. It's a great remedy for dragging pains with the period. So when somebody says, I get period pains, as a homeopath, I'm going to be asking them, tell me a bit more about the nature of your pain. And that is going to help me find a remedy for them, because we're very descriptive as homeopaths. So I've brought in another remedy, Silica 10M. This is a remedy in a very high potency that I might give on a regular basis to a woman who was seeing me for hair loss with hormonal change. A couple of other remedies. Lachesis. Lachesis is for marked mood changes where you know that you're just being a bit of a bitch, that you're really not your nicest person before your period. You cannot wait for your period to start because you feel better for the bleed. So Lachesis is always better for expressing. She's better for letting off steam. She's better for when the bleed starts and it all gets moving. Feels very stagnant, congested, and pissed off, basically, before things happen. So this remedy, Pulsatilla, is completely different to that. Pulsatilla is a remedy for women who feel quite weepy and tearful and anxious. It's a wonderful remedy for very irregular periods, where both the bleed is irregular, it's never the same from 1 month to the next, where the cycle length is irregular, never the same from 1 month to the next. It's a great remedy for indecision, for a woman who finds herself very, very indecisive at menopause. So, yeah, you can see the differences there between the remedies, and that you might need some kind of training to differentiate between remedies and learn which is the best for you. So I do have a short workshop, a mini for Meno, on homeopathy for menopause, and I'll share the link below. And as I've said, if you're watching this on catch up, do write in #replay to keep this live. And just to mention a couple of flower essences that are slightly different to homeopathy, but not made in a dissimilar way. They are also energetic and vibrational remedies. And these, again, are readily available. This one is called Purifying Essence and is a great remedy for a little detox at any time when you just think, I feel congested, my mind's full of negative thoughts. It's good on that level as well as the physical level. And it's called Purifying Essence, and it comes from the Australian Bushflower Essence range. This is another one which is now called Focus Essence. Focus Essence is great for brain fog. If you're finding it difficult to concentrate while you're at work, at any point, during menopause, we just think things are a bit foggy, a bit unreal, a bit difficult to memory. It's also a great remedy for memory. So, with this, I would be saying take this 7 drops AM and PM twice a day for 2 weeks. See how it is. Very easy to take alongside any other medication. And then sometimes, homeopathy and flower essences are really great at supporting this huge transition that we're in. That some of us feel like we're on a journey to being somebody else, and we would like to have some kind of input into that. This is Creative Essence, again from the Australian Bushflower Essence range. And this was wonderful for supporting your creative process. So hopefully that's a little bit more information. As I say, I'll put the link below to my menopause mini on homeopathy. And I've got a couple of flower essence workshops actually. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about these, I'll put a link to those down below as well. But for the meantime, if you've listened to the end, thank you. And pop hashtag replay in to keep this live. And I'm going to endeavour to do a few more lives. So if you like what you're listening to, let me know. And if you don't, then let me know as well, because feedback is really helpful. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.